I'm April Ford, author of the best-selling book, Chase a Challenge and Conquer. I have overcome many hardships and tragedies, even at a young age, but I'm not only able to survive, but thrive. I created the 4-step 4 R's program when you need more than just R&R. You need all 4 R's, and that's recognize, respond, reevaluate, and rebalance. This program will allow you to find your equation for happiness, success, and prosperity so you can propel your life with momentum, so you can thrive and not just survive. The principles from Chase a Challenge and Conquer are for real people looking for real results, and now it's in a simple 4-step 4 R's program. Go to www.joysofya.com to get your copy of Chase a Challenge and Conquer along with the 4-step 4 R's program, and you will get a free 30-minute consultation and get you started with the program. And don't forget to thrive and not just survive.
Sometimes life just has its challenges. What do you do when you're encountering a setback in your life? Well, today my guest, April Ford, is an author, and she is an expert on how you bounce back when you've had some incredible setbacks in your life. Thank you for being here, April.
Thank you, Kristen. Pleasure to be here.
So share with us a little bit about what's happened in your own life.
Well, you know what? I've overcome a lot of tragedies, like you said, obstacles or setbacks, but you know what? There is hope out there. All you have to do is believe in yourself and believe in God. And you've just got to push through it and know that if anybody can do it, you yourself can, because I'm living proof of that.
You know, it's so interesting because I know that sometimes things just come up unexpectedly.
Right.
You know, we get in an accident, we get a diagnosis that something is going on in our lives, or we find out that there is a tragedy that's happened to someone that we love.
Right.
And our first response is just to kind of crawl up and
collapse.
Yeah,
right.
in the bed.
Right, and that's natural. I mean, we're all human. We're all, we reserve the right to be angry or sad or depressed or stressed out, but you can't be in that, in that space, in that time forever. You're not going to move forward in your life or even prosper or progress or grow and blossom to who you really are if you stay in that state.
How long is that grace period for grief?
Oh, you know what? I get that a lot, and it's a hard question to answer because my grief might be different than yours versus somebody else's. The circumstances or the situation might be different. And our personalities, our dynamics, our viewpoints all come into play on how, what that timeline is. It could take maybe for you, maybe 1 year, for me, 2-3 years, and somebody else 6 months. So it just really depends on the person.
So I know that you say that there is an equation, a formula for happiness. Can you share that with us?
Yes, you know what, since publishing the book Chase a Challenge and Conquer, that's one of my most popular questions is that, April, after all that you've gone through, all the tragedies and setbacks, even at a young age, how are you able to stay happy and successful and prosper? And that's, I guess, the $1,000,000 question. And my response to that is there is an equation for happiness, success, and prosperity. And that's why I created the 4-step 4 R's program, which is a spinoff of Chase a Challenge and Conquer. And I really address that important question because I do get it a lot from a lot of the readers. And it is important for me to share, what exactly is I did to overcome all of my tragedies and setbacks.
So share with us, because I know we all want to know, what are these 4 R's?
The 4 R's for the 4-step program is, recognize, respond, reevaluate, and rebalance. And I really think it's imperative that we find the 3 variables in our life, and that's the whole mind, body, and soul, and to take a holistic approach to have that balance within our life so that you have what you need at a certain given period of time in your life to find that balance to allow you to move forward and propel.
So I'm going to stop you for just a second and let's break down these 4 R's. So the first one is recognize. What do you mean by recognize? What do we need to recognize?
Yeah, so we need to recognize what our life or symptoms is telling us, are are we tired? Is our body fatigue? Am I not motivated? Am I not focused? So there's daily indicators on what's going on, in our life, and we just need to pay attention to what's going on. Where are we, lacking in certain areas? Where are we sufficient, and where are we, whether there's a surplus or a deficient in whatever areas you need to figure out.
So kind of like an energy test.
Yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
wake up in the morning and we're like, okay, am I excited
Where
to
do
get
I
out
want
of
to?
bed?
Yeah. Where do I want to be? Where am I at? Where do I want to go?
All right, perfect. So that's the first one. That's recognize.
Recognize.
So what's the second R?
So that's respond. Now that you're able to see, what areas you have a surplus or deficit in, respond to it. Come up with an action plan, set goals, and work with a life coach, and sit down and, strategically work on the areas that need addressing.
So let's talk about respond. I mean, I know that you are a life coach yourself and you're an author. What is a powerful way that we can respond? So we're laying in bed. We're like, I just don't know if I can face it. I feel overwhelmed by sadness or grief. What's a great way to kind of shift that mindset and get going again?
Well, like you said, if you're having obstacles or blockages within yourself that you can't find the courage or the motivation or inspiration to do it yourself, there are people who are to help you, whether it's me or somebody else. And I sit down with a lot of people, whether it's talking to them or giving them advice on, you should really try to do this. Come up with a game plan. Where are you trying to go in your life, and what are your setbacks now? What's hindering you?
Great. That sounds like very practical advice that, it is important to have a vision or a plan
Right.
of where we want to go next, even if we're just taking baby steps to
Right.
get there.
Right. It takes baby steps.
All right. So recognize, respond, and what's the number 3? What's the third
Reevaluate.
R? Reevaluate. Okay.
And that's kind of doing your milestone or checkpoint. Now that you came up with a plan, check in with yourself or check in with whoever's helping you, maybe 30 or 60 or 90 days later, and see what's working and what's not.
I think that's a good point, April, because so many of us, we make these plans. And then when they don't go according to plan,
You
we
just
find
give up.
ourselves, we're just like,
Yeah,
"Oh,
you give up.
I can't meet the plan." But I think that, the best laid plans, and we've all heard
You
this
refine
cliche.
it. Right. And that's how you're able to move forward. And the fourth R would be rebalance. And that's, calibrating that equation to figure out what works and what doesn't work. Because what worked for you maybe a year ago, maybe it doesn't apply to your particular situation now.
So I would love to, I know you brought your book here. I'd love to talk about your book for just a minute, The Chase, The Challenge, and The Conquer. What prompted you to write this book?
I've always had an inclination within myself, even at a young age, to write a book. I love writing, so that's my true passion, to share my story and help people heal, because I know I'm not the only person that have overcome tragedies in my life. It was just always within me to get my story out there to help other people.
So if you don't mind, I know that there are people that are watching our show and people are listening and they're saying, boy, I just can't get over the loss of my partner, or I can't believe that I have cancer. What would you say to them just to start to have a breakthrough so that they can keep moving forward in their life?
I think, well, the number one belief that you need to have is to have that belief and that hope and that love for yourself, and also forgiveness for yourself, and forgive, those around you, whatever the circumstances that brought that situation into your life.
You raise a really important point that forgiveness, it sounds like, I hear this over and over again. It's
Right.
really the key that can unlock the door to keep you moving forward.
Right, but first you have to be able to forgive within and forgive yourself before you
Right.
can forgive anybody else.
So what can that look like? What can forgiveness look like?
Forgiveness could be just, saying, I accept what happened to me. I may not be able to understand, the whys and where, when, why did it happen to me, and just move forward without any resentment or guilt or anger. That's what true forgiveness is.
Yeah, I think that oftentimes, we feel anger, we feel frustration in our lives, and it just sits there. And then, a week goes by, a month goes by,
And it adds
a year
up.
goes by,
It adds up,
and it's
right.
still sitting there. And we wonder why we're feeling stuck.
Because it's adding up, it's building up. That's what's going on.
So, so that first step is forgiveness, and then what comes next?
I would say reach out to help somebody else and just believe. Believe you can do it and believe that God is there to help you and know that your strength comes from God, and that's what's enabled me through my path.
So you talk a lot in your book and in your own coaching practice about happiness. Can you define happiness for us?
Well, it's kind of like that whole success definition. Like my definition of success might be different than somebody else's. Happiness for me would just be at a place of peace and content. All the other stuff that makes you happy, the materialistic stuff or checking stuff off your milestone, your goals, it's all great, but it's a feeling within that you just have to experience for yourself and what it feels like. You're just happy.
Well, it's interesting because I was
peaceful.
thinking about this. There's we are seeing a lot of tragedies in the world that we live in. We're
Right.
seeing environmental challenges. We're hearing about tragedies. There's economic challenges, and yet some people, no matter what, are just bubbly.
Miserable.
They're
Yeah.
happy, and then other people are
yeah.
just miserable. What makes the difference?
It's your viewpoint and your outlook and your belief. I mean, a lot of people don't have the simplest thing as hope and belief and love and forgiveness.
Yeah, I think that's another really important point. You talk about belief and you also talk about love. How important is this role of love?
It's pretty important. I mean, love, again, it's like forgiveness. Love within yourself, and then you give it out to other people. It's very important in our lives to maintain, love and relationships.
So, April, when you're working with someone and they've had a setback in their life, perhaps they've encountered the loss of a loved one, a really challenging health diagnosis, where do they start to just pull themselves back up and keep moving forward?
Well, let's start with, recognizing what's going on. There's 4 steps to this. The first one is to recognize, respond, reevaluate, and rebalance. So recognize what's going on. Are you feeling depressed? Are you stressed out? Is your body telling you that it's fatigue, it's not responding? Are you lacking motivation somewhere? So it's first being able to recognize what's going on in your life and what are the circumstances and situation causing these effects and symptoms that you're experiencing.
So the key is just kind of finding out where you're at in this moment right now.
Right now, right. And you know what, it's important for you to do that, because how are you going to know what areas you're going to, respond to or reevaluate later on down the road? You've got to be able to sit down and know what's going on for you to move forward.
Okay, and so then what's the next step?
And so it's recognize is the first one, and the next one is to respond to it, and that's because you need to come up with a game plan. Know, okay, now that I kind of know what's going on, I'm stressed out at work or at home, this is what's going on, this is what's troubling me, let's respond to it. Let's come up with an action plan, whether it's 30 days or 60 days, and move forward and come up with a plan that will work and that will, set you to where you need to go.
What are some things that are helpful, like step by step, to kind of get you going again?
Get you going again would be working with somebody as like myself, or know that there's support out there from your family and friends, and you need to take this holistic approach. It's not about just doing one thing. It's about taking a holistic approach with your mind, body, and soul, so you have that key balance. And I think it's very important to have that balance going so that you can have that cohesion, what I call. It's not, an opposition, because you do need a little bit of traction and give you that momentum in life to get you going. So it's recognize again, and then to respond to those areas that you're lacking in or you're surplus in, whichever part of the 3 variables, which is your mind, body, and soul.
So I've heard that when people have depression, so if someone out there is suffering from depression, that actually physical exercise can help bring your spirit back up.
Right, and it does, and it also frees your mind too. It gets your mind away from being, balled up in a corner somewhere being depressed, but it gets your hormones up, it pumps, blood and oxygen into the rest of your body, so it just physically get your body going and breathing helps as well.
You reminded me to take a deep breath.
Yeah, and just breathe and relax. Right.
So tell me next, beyond this, what's the next step? Because I know you have a 4-step program.
Right. Again, going with the 4 steps, it's again to recognize, respond to it, reevaluate, and the last step would be to rebalance. And when I say reevaluate, it's you're reevaluating, what worked for me. I kind of addressed in step 2, I was lacking in maybe the body area of exercising or eating healthy or working out enough, or maybe it's the mind. My mind's not being stimulated in terms of that area, or maybe it's your spirit. You're not meditating or praying enough. So reevaluate, look at your goals that you set from step 2 and see, is it working in the direction that you want to go?
And I know that sometimes we have a plan, and then the plan doesn't work that well.
Right.
And then
that's okay.
Part of it is being able to make another plan.
That's okay. I mean, there's trial and error. You see what works and what doesn't work. I mean, that's what the whole plan is. A lot of people, why they fail in a plan is they just completely give up.
Right.
So what they need to recognize is actually the 4th step, and that's rebalance. They need to be able to calibrate their equation, their equation for happiness, success, and prosperity, and know what variable they need to tweak. Because it's not about, I can't give you a one equation, that's going to have 30% here or 30,
right.
and then come up, in those areas. It's about being able to tweak it and what part of your life you need to know what areas you need to tweak specifically.
And then how do you wrap it all up? Like, what's the thing that brings it all full circle?
I would say the 4th step is to rebalance, knowing what works and what doesn't work, because what you figured out through that process, say 30, 60, 90 days, things are going well, you're maintaining your happiness, your success, and you're prospering in your life, and you're feeling that moment of content. And what if a year later something changes? Is that equation that you figured out, is it working? So maybe you need to restart the cycle and recalibrate and rebalance your equation for happiness.
I think that there's a really important point here, April, is that, when we have a challenge in our life or a setback, we can't return to the life that we once knew.
Right.
It's hard to go back to the happiness that we had in our marriage if we're divorced. It's hard to go back to the success we had in a job if we're no longer working for that company, or if that job or business was shut down.
Right.
So I think that the rebalancing oftentimes is just this whole reorganization of, how do we go forward when what brought us happiness in the past no longer exists?
Yeah, because life is fluid. It's not static, and that's the key to prosper, to blossom. Find your passion and let it blossom. And when I say that, you've got to be able to recognize what stage are you in your life, what motivates you, what drives you, what circumstances happen. You can't predict what's going to happen in the future, but you can predict your personalities. You can, have an outlook on your life and what's going to be able to move you forward and have that success,
right.
path in front of you.
So I want to talk about your book for a little bit. You've got this incredible book that you've written, Chase the Challenge and Conquer. Tell me a little bit about, why did you write this book?
I've always had the inclination to write, Chase the Challenge and Conquer. My true passion is in writing, so I love to write, and I've always had the feeling within me, even at a young age, that I've always wanted to help people overcome their tragedies and help them heal with their offsets in life, and to be, really successful, not only survive, but thrive. No matter what life throws at you, you can do it. You can believe in yourself and believe in God, have a strong faith, then you can, do what you want to do when you're set out to do.
Do you mind sharing with us, inside the book, do you tell any part of your personal story? Is there a certain story you'd like to share with us about something that you've had to overcome in your life?
At a young age, I've had a lot of misfortunate circumstances that happened to me out of my control. And most recently, I became a widow 2.5 years ago, so that was a heartbreak setback. But I'm just at a place now, most recently, or I am at a happy place. But I still have moments, kids and I still have moments, but overall, I'm happy, at a happy place. But it would be happier if I could make somebody else happy and share all this joy and my blessings.
Right, but that does happen. You know, I mean, I mean, I'm looking at you. You're a beautiful young woman. You know that you can have a loss, no matter where you're at in your life.
And there's still hope and life to live out there. You've just got, everybody has a passion within, and sometimes you need help to bring it out, and that's what it takes.
So, is there anything else that you want to make sure that we talk about?
Well, you know what? The other question I do get is like, well, what's next after Chase the Challenge and Conquer? And for people that know me, I tend to do things in parallel instead of succession, so I tend to multitask. I did launch my company, Joy, and it's inspired by my middle name, Joy, and it's actually an acronym. It stands for Joys of Yah. Yah's short for Yahweh, translating to God. So I launched that, and I've also got an innovative technical tool coming out to look for out in the spring. It's called My Dashboard.
Great.
And I'd like to announce the winner of the 4-Step 4 Hours program. She'll be winning a free consultation. Her name is Katrina Solario from Sacramento.
Awesome.
So congratulations, Katrina. Looking forward to working with you. And what else do I have going on? Oh, I'll be speaking at the World Conference in Miami, and it's sponsored by Oxygen Magazine, and it's hosted by fitness celebrity expert herself, Jennifer Nicole Lee.
Great.
So I'm excited for that as well.
Well, it sounds like your career as a celebrity author is definitely taking off, and thank you for being here with us on the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Fabulous. Thank you.
I'm April Ford, author of the best-selling book, Chase the Challenge and Conquer. I've overcome many hardships and tragedies, even at a young age, but I'm not only able to survive, but thrive. I created the 4-Step 4 Hours program when you need more than just R&R. You need all 4 R's, and that's recognize, respond, reevaluate, and rebalance. This program will allow you to find your equation for happiness, success, and prosperity so you can propel your life with momentum, so you can thrive and not just survive. The principles from Chase the Challenge and Conquer are for real people looking for real results, and now it's in a simple 4-step, 4 R's program. Go to www.joysofyah.com to get your copy of Chase the Challenge and Conquer along with the 4-step 4 R's program, and you will get a free 30-minute consultation to get you started with the program. And don't forget to thrive and not just survive.